Kayak anglers of the internet, welcome back to the Advanced Kayak Angler podcast with myself, Dan Perry, and my co-host, Kurt Smits. What's up, dude?
Man, a lot of storms where I live lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're getting all the
you're getting
tropical storm that came, the hurricane that came up. It's turned into a tropical storm, and it's just like we're still getting a little bit even today. We're getting some weird weather around from it, you know. So I spent the day. I finally finished rigging out my Outback, man, for skinny water. I am pumped, man. It turned out really good. I feel.
Are you fishing the Susquehanna coming up?
Man, I really, really want to, but I'm not sure I'm gonna make it. Everything is so darn expensive right now. I have to make those decisions because it's so. I mean, I hate to even say it like that, but that's how it is for me right now with that event. It'll be like if I make it, it'll be like down to the wire, and I'll probably get like a half a day of pre-fishing in and fish one spot that I've already been to.
Yeah, you've got that other one too. The Adventure Kayak series is coming like Wythall. I think it's Wythall, Michigan, or somewhere in Michigan, I think. So that's not like crazy far for you, huh?
That's like about, honestly, that's as far as the
Guntersville.
As far as like, it's like 8 hours. This is as far as everything for me. I mean, because everything seems to be 8 hours for me, whether I go to Pennsylvania, whether I go to Michigan. It's up there. It's in the Upper Peninsula. That's that's going to be Drew did a really good job at picking that one.
I imagine. I didn't know it was up in the UP. It's probably super untouched, not very heavily pressured fish.
And dude, and where he's at, I have a cousin that lives not too far from there, and he was telling me that he was just like, "Why are you coming up here to smallmouth fish?" And I'm like, well, blah blah blah. And he's just like, "You guys should come up here and walleye fish. We walleye fish. No one smallmouth fishes up here. We all walleye fish." And I'm like, that's why we're coming up for the smallmouth, man, because none of you guys, and these guys are pretty hardcore fishermen during the season.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, I'm excited for that one. Just even if I don't get to go to it, just to watch it and see.
Yeah.
That adventure series is taking off, man. I can't wait to see next year.
And it really is tonight, speaking of, we're talking about top 5 lakes. We brought some anglers on to talk about that, but it is cool that the Kayak Adventure series they're fishing some things that there's never been big national events at before, which is, it's much different than what the other trails are doing because they have a big magnet because these places have money. So the visitors bureaus or cities or, combined areas pitch in to get these events come. And that's why we fish a lot of them. But yeah, Drew's definitely went a different route, which is very cool,
Yeah, I was unsure of it, when he was first talking about it. I'm like, I don't know, man. But it's a home run. It's just going to get bigger. I'm really impressed with what he's done with it.
Yeah, now I think he was hoping for a few more the first year. And he hadn't actually gotten the numbers he wanted, which I mean is what he, I think the first one had like 80. Which
that's good.
Yeah, I think so too. I think next year it's going to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, I think he's going to find it explodes.
Yeah,
80 for your first event, I think is really good. It was like 85 people, I think.
Was it? Yeah,
I can't remember. I might be wrong. My memories. And
he had multiple events on top of each other, so getting participation in different events on top of each other is even more. Yeah, if I already had my schedule planned out after he came out with the schedule, or I would have tried to fish one. My vacation days are all spoken for. So
yeah, I'm trying to squeeze one in, or not squeeze one in. I'm just trying to make one. My work's been pretty. It's been dumping on me basically, but that's a good thing. I'm not complaining.
That's right.
So let's bring these guys on, man. Let's talk about the top 5. Tournament lakes, right? That's what we're going off of?
Yeah, their top 5 favorite tournament lakes. So here we go. We got Barry Davis, South Carolina, Jordan Marshall, Tennessee, and Mark Edwards up in West Virginia. What's up, fellas?
Howdy.
What's South up, Carolina, guys? Right, Barry?
What's that?
Is it South or North Carolina?
South.
South. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. South Carolina. The one that's got good fish.
Y'all do have all the good fisheries, don't you?
We tend to have a little better on size. North Carolina's got some good lakes with some good size, but we tend to, overall do a little better than them. Matter of fact, I'll leave tomorrow morning and go fish Norman. So I'll be at North Carolina anyway. So,
that's on my list for one of the top 5 lakes is Norman.
it's
I
not.
love that lake. It's not your top 5?
No, it's not.
It's in my bottom 5. I thought about a bottom 5 for fun. Norman's in my bottom 5.
What? God, man, I have a good time every time I go there. I mean, it broke my heart this last time we went. I had good fish right to the boat. But besides that catastrophe happening to me, man, I love fishing Norman. It fishes like my style of fishing in Norman are very cohesive together,
There's a lot of fish in Norman. I like it.
I've fished it a couple of times. Is all I've ever fished it, and I'm an hour and a half from it. So it's just not one of my places. Man, I've got Hartwell, Santee, Lake Greenwood, the Kiowee, Joe Cassie. Man, I got some lakes up here in the upstate of South Carolina. I don't have to worry about it. And then Santee in the lower part of the state. So
yeah, but Hartwell's got Norman's got those giant spots in it.
Yeah,
I mean that they look different than any other spot I have come across, and they're mean and they're big, and
they're more like Lake Lanier in Georgia. They tend to be a lot alike, I think.
I have not fished Lanier, and you are like the 3rd person to tell me that, and now I want to really go fish Lanier because
you need to go fish Lanier.
Yeah, Lanier's good. If you want to get into the big ones in summertime, you go down near the dam. That's not my style of fishing, but you go down near the dam, get your deep water, and do some offshore. You can get hold of some really good ones this time of the year down there.
So, speaking of spots, Justin Hamner, he went out a few days ago on Bankhead here and caught 3 6-pound spots same day.
That's what I need this weekend out of Norman, because we got a 3 fish limit for this Real Heroes tournament I'm doing. So
I've been trying to get Steve to come to Bankhead and Locust Fork and Mulberry. They like 2 rivers connect into Bankhead, and it's the spots. I mean, largemouth. There's double-digit largemouth in there, but there's a lot of giant.
Did you say river and giant largemouth together in the same sentence?
Yeah. For real. But it's beautiful too.
Like me.
It's beautiful. Not many people live there. It's all coal mines and stuff. The only bad part about it is it's really remote. Like there's no bridges going across, so you have to go all the way around. And the cell phone service is next to non-existent. But the fishing is amazing. Like we fish it on a couple of local trails here, but that's the only reason big trails don't come here.
Did you just say coal mines in Alabama in the same sentence?
Yeah. Several.
Yeah, we're in the foothills of the foothills of Appalachia.
Bobby, you got me lost like a ball in high weeds over here. I would have never guessed there's a coal mine in Alabama.
There's several. Yeah.
Now on the Warrior River, there's Warrior Met Coal, and there's a
couple active ones too.
A lot of it's it's not just like power plant coal. It's the coal that they use for steel, and that's why Birmingham is Magic City, because they have a lot of iron, and they have a lot of that coal that they use for steel.
It's called met coal.
There is it.
I learn something new every day.
It stands for something else, but I don't know what it
is. Yeah, it's a different kind of coal, but we have a bunch of mines.
The man from West Virginia knows coal. I'll take
it. For real. What do you do for a living, Mark?
I build transformers. No, my dad did. I mean, everything around here revolves around coal pretty much. So actually, I work in Virginia. I got a 45-minute drive.
What do you do, Mark?
I build transformers.
Oh, like the big ones, like on power poles?
No.
Like the men to women?
No.
He's over working on Optimus Prime.
No. Everything takes a transformer. I mean, like anytime you're taking any amount of power off, say 10,000 volts, it's got to go down to 480 or whatever, 220, 110, whatever. So everything has transformers. it's stepped down. So you're coming from 10,000 or whatever volts. I mean, I'm just a pole
Transmission
winder.
lines stay. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. I've been out 25 years. So
Yeah, cool. All right, well, let's get back on topic here. I guess we'll just keep going in a circle. Barry, we'll start with you. I guess start from your bottom. What's your number 5 favorite tournament lake that whenever you see it on a schedule, it's like, I'll be at that one for sure.
Mine's a mix of rivers and lake, but
Okay.
we'll go that route. Santee Cooper, which is one of my home states, my number 5.
And why do you love it so much? I've heard about it, seen so many trails go there, never fished it.
Cypress trees, shallow water to big bass love. They'll get up in them cypress, just hang out even when it's hot. And it's just a cool place to go. It's like Jurassic Park. The guys, we've had some pretty big tournaments here in state that some of the ones have done on that. Hope's been there, KBS been there several times. But the guys that's from states that have gators, they'll say, well, we got gators in Florida. We got gators here. Man, it's just a different gator than we got in South Carolina. Them Santee gators are big and they don't like you around their spot sometimes. So it's just like Jurassic Park. I mean, it's a cool place to go.
And the gators look different. I saw one down there, and it had plants growing on it.
Yeah.
I mean, like
they camouflage
growing on it. I mean, it was like it looked like it looked so much like a log, but it was moving in the water, and it had little trees and stuff growing on. I was just like, what?
Santee gators are shaped like Norman spots.
Yeah, they are, man.
Every year in gator season, there's several 12s and 13s come out, and they don't give a whole lot of permits out. So there's some big gators come out of there, and they stay big gators. They just keep replacing. So
yeah.
But
I don't know if you sold that for me or not.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't know if you sold it for me or not with them talking about gators. I mean, you had me with the fishing, you lost me with the gators.
That's why the kayak fishing is so good for us that live here, because we scare everybody else away. They don't like to get up in there.
Barry, I got a question for you about Santee.
All right.
Have you ever fished Caddo? How would you?
If you give me a second, Caddo's on here.
I jumped the gun, didn't I? All right, go ahead. I'll leave you alone.
All right. So number 1, we got Santee. Jordan, how about you, man?
We starting for the number 5. Ooh. I went big names, and I'll do one low name, but every time I see a tournament there, I want to go, and it's underrated. It's Weiss Lake.
Weiss, all right.
Alabama. I love fishing Weiss. It got spots in it. It's got largemouth. They had that Hobie there the first year where you could fish Weiss or
Neely Henry.
Neely Henry. Yeah, how did I forget that, Dan? Neely Henry and Weiss. And I'd never been on Neely Henry. I've been on Weiss a couple times, and man, I really like fishing Weiss. It's one of those that I try to go fish a tournament on every year. I may not make it there, but I try to purposely look for a tournament on Weiss every year because I enjoy going down there and fishing.
Speaking of a lake that has walleye too, they're kind of known for walleye here in the South.
Everybody up here has always talked about crappie fishing. There's a bunch of East Tennessee guys that go and crappie fish Weiss Lake.
It's pretty far from me, so I've only been there a couple times. I don't get to fish that often.
I think it's about 4.5 hours for me, and it may be. I think it's the second closest one, just barely on my list here.
Yeah, I think it's about 3 for me. Cool. Weiss,
underrated.
Alabama Lake. I didn't see that one coming. Mark, how about you, man?
Number 5, I want to go with Lake George in New York. It's a lake. It's just south of Lake Champlain. So it's pretty much, I've never been to Champlain. I know Champlain's probably better, actually. But places I've been to, Lake George, it was just unbelievable. I caught 30-some fish off one dock.
Wow.
I mean, it was just ridiculous. You just sat there and caught them, and I run out of Neds, and I went to the truck and got some more and went back. It was insane.
Speaking
the-
of New York
Yeah,
largemouth, somebody just caught a 12-pound
What?
something largemouth in New York. It's
State
the
record.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Really?
caught today at Cayuga.
I didn't
it
see.
didn't.
That's on
It
the
didn't
list.
look right.
for a northern lake, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
But
How long?
yeah, the northern fisheries, man. Every time I've been north, it's just it's fishing pressure, man. I think a whole lot to do with it. I mean, I don't know if y'all agree or not, but down south this time of year, fishing gets tough, even the good lakes.
Yeah, yeah.
And up there, man, it just anytime it's open all the way till it closes, it's really good fishing.
I feel like you're right that the fishing pressure is different because the people when you go north, they really do switch species. It changes over to walleye. It just changes over to muskie. I feel like those are so much more popular. Like once you get above Ohio, like New York, Michigan, not Michigan so much, but Upper Peninsula, Michigan, Wisconsin.
I think a lot of those anglers up there do a really good job of fishing seasonal stuff too, where they kind of like, all right, the smallmouth are spawning or just post spawn. Let's go catch a bunch of smallmouth, and then they just peak. Everything is so much tighter window that they can kind of hit everything really, really well for their 4 to 5 months that they get to fish before it's awful weather again.
And that's a big thing too. You just said like 4 or 5 months to fish. Compared to down south, they fish 12 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But,
I think it's a state by state thing too, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. Tennessee does an awful job of managing their fisheries, and you can tell a big difference on the Tennessee River, what's in Tennessee and what's not.
So George is. I remember them talking about that. That one's like super deep, right? Like glacial.
Oh yeah, it's
like
the
really
same as
clean.
Champlain. I mean, it's on the same river system as Champlain. Actually, the river runs into Ticonderoga or whatever. It might be that river or whatever. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But we had a KBF tournament up there several years ago. But so they had them back to back years, and I like looked at the inches from the previous year. So like I had 80 some inches, and that was like a top 10-ish from the previous year. In like 2 or 3 hours, I was already up there. So I ran out of net heads, and I went and got to the truck and got some more and went back fishing. Then I decided to go to smallmouth because I was like, the smallmouth are a little bit longer, it seemed like. So I went out and fished some islands, and I caught probably 15 fish smallmouth and never coiled. And I think I finished 30 something.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was thinking I was already going to be like top 10, 15 range. I mean, that's what you're thinking going off previous years. But it was just so tight. There was just so many fish caught. It was ridiculous. And that's what makes, I think, a good fishery, is the whole field catching fish, numbers of fish, and it's all close. It ain't like a place like O.H. Ivy that's got, 2 10-pounders, and then that's about all it's caught. I mean, everybody else struggled. To me,
I think that makes it a more fun tournament too. Just like when you go to chat, like when you go to awards and stuff, and everybody caught fish, everybody's in a good mood, everybody's got some good story. It just makes it a better.
Well, when everybody catches fish, everybody's in a better mood. Then
yeah.
Kurt, how about you, man? Because you've been all over. I know you got a list too.
Man, I tell you, my number 5, and it's a love-hate relationship with the lake to the extreme, is Kentucky Lake. I love it because it's so incredibly diverse, right? The northern part of that lake and the southern part of that lake, it is like changing lakes. They're so different. You can hit a cove on the southern part, and it will just feel so different than the northern part. Or the east side versus the west side, and most tournaments have Barkley in there, which is like, I mean, it's just so much water, and I love it because it's such a challenge from a kayak or even a motorboat. I mean, really, it's just such a big lake. And I've obviously had some success there, and I've also had some brutal failures there as well. And I've had a lot of stuff where it was just really close, or I lost a big fish there. It's just one of those lakes I've experienced like the full range of human emotions at.
Kentucky
And
Lake was on my honorable
the
mention.
Yeah. and it's good to hear that it's coming back too. I mean, and I really love that it is coming back. The last two times I've been there, I feel like it's fished better. So that's, fingers crossed for the future for it.
Bassmaster actually had Lake Barkley on their list of top 25 in the Southeast or something. Whatever range it was in, I can't remember if it was Southeast or Central or.
The neat thing about Barkley is it turns into like these crazy backwater. The creeks there go way. You can go way back the creeks on Barkley in places. It's just such an interesting place.
Isn't that where they had the like super cold Hobie at on Barkley?
No, that was Watts Bar, close to the house.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I can't believe how cold it was for that event. Honestly, that's my Watts Bar was my honorable mention. Or actually, that's on my list. I take it back. That's on my list.
Okay.
Watts Bar is a different fishery now than when you were on it for the Hobie, Kurt. I promise. I used to love Watts Bar. I would go to Watts Bar instead of Chick any day of the week. You used to be able to go catch 4 or 5 fish on a dock, go to the next dock, catch 2 or 3, and then just fish one cove all day and just absolutely whack them. And there was getting some grass on Watts Bar, and all the local homeowners basically pitched in, and TWRA allowed them to spray each individual cove if you got enough people to pay for it in each individual cove. And they absolutely nuked that place. It is not even worth fishing the last couple of years.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah, that used to be one of my absolute favorite places, just to go fun fish, go take a fluke and just skip docks all day. And it was so much fun. I loved it. Just the amount of 17-inch fish in that place was up there with Cayuga and these incredible fisheries. And they've nuked it.
How could anybody think spraying that much Roundup that gives people cancer could be a good idea?
Yeah,
putting it in the water. I mean,
yeah. All right, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, we really should do one on that. Yeah, on spraying. Barry, how about you?
Number 4.
4.
Gonna be Possum Kingdom.
Texas Kingdom. Big fish territory.
Yep. And I've done well there. I've done bad there, but I've always caught some big fish during the week that I've been there. All 3 times I've been out there, I've really nailed some good fish in practice, even if I didn't on tournament days. So
that's a whole lot different than Santee too. It's interesting that
completely different. Yeah. Most of the fish I found, especially when we done the hotter weather tournaments, was on deep docks, 30, 35 foot, but they're hanging right under the dock. And you just have to get in there and watch what's going on. I got live scope now, but before I didn't have live scope, so I didn't really know what they were doing. Now I know what they're doing because I got to watch them this year on live scope do it. So, but they're hanging tight right up under the dock, and they dive down and get it as it goes down. So
as something swims past underneath them, they come off the dock and go down.
I'm skipped. They're big docks to begin with, huge docks, and a lot of them have platforms that raise up, like for jet skis and such as that. And it may be a 12 by 12 platform on a set of cables. So you got a foot space between your water and your bottom of your dock where that comes up. Good skipping area to get up in there. Plus, you got more to get in between on some of the pontoons and stuff. And you just skip as far as you can. Let it start dropping down. Shake your head with like a 1/16 ounce weight so it drops a little slower. They nail it. Wacky rig, just a little bit of weight, nail weight or something on it. They nail it.
Talking my language. I like it.
Yep. Yeah. I've had used to, man. It was me. It was either moving water or cypress trees was my favorites because I could find fish anytime I was doing that. But I've had to become a little more diverse and learn a few more of these lakes that's totally different than that. And Possum Kingdom's one of them that I've done fair on, and I really like it. So.
Okay. Jordan, how about you, man?
Number 4, I'm going to say one that I bet most people would probably say. I'm just going to go ahead and get out of the way. Guntersville. I'm going to stay in Alabama for my 5th one and 4th one.
I
I've
doubt
got an
anybody's
honorable mention on it because I've done so good at it this year, but it's not my favorite place because it's a love-hate type deal.
I doubt anybody in kayak fishing's won more money than you on Guntersville.
It's been good to me. It's a shame I put it at number 4, but it's consistent. It's one of those places that you have to talk about because of its diversity of ledge fishing, fishing docks, fishing grass, fishing creeks. You can go up to the north end for a month and catch them at the dam. It is truly a place that anywhere on the lake is available when we go there. Like when we were there, Bassmaster, the ledges obviously shine for everybody that did really well, but it's one of those places where you can show up anywhere on that lake and catch them.
And I know personally, I love lakes like that where I don't feel like somebody's going to find something like a certain special thing. Like creeks are on, I don't fish a creek. I feel like on Guntersville, like it can literally be one anywhere. So it's like who there might be a majority of fish doing one thing, but anybody could win it almost anywhere. I do really like that.
God, I have such a love-hate relationship with that lake too, man. It's more hate than love, honestly. That place always kicks me in the teeth. I still haven't quite got my rhythm on that lake.
I usually get one good day.
I really like it, but then again, now with all that floating eelgrass, last year I was so frustrated. Last year I was so frustrated because I was wanting to throw moving baits, and just I could not find a place to fish everywhere I went. It was just, man, it's tough to fish at floating eelgrass.
It was real tough this year.
Yeah,
well,
I love
hurt me second day.
It used to be so much fun to be able to go there and throw a trap, and it's damn hard to do now.
Yeah, I threw a V-twin buzzbait the first day. It's what caught all my fish at the Bassmaster. And man, you talk about cleaning a lure. It was every little bit you was cleaning a lure. I mean, getting grass out from under the blades and stuff because it just start locking them down. It was a pain, but it worked.
Yeah. All right, Mark, number 4.
So number 4, I got Lake Lanier. But I personally have never fished Lake Lanier. But as we come into this, I was thinking of best lakes that, I'm a big follower of bass fisherman, So, the Elite Series was there a few years ago. And actually, FLW Tour was there several years ago. And just the spotted bass lakes like that, there's just so many numbers of fish caught. And the standings are always close. And like this year, they had that no forward-facing sonar tournament or whatever. And that was impressive what they did during that tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that? Chris Johnson won it, but he won with like 70-some pounds in 3 days. It was insane. And mostly largemouth.
That's a big bags.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. I think they caught, wasn't there a couple 7-pound largemouth? I know at least one 7-pound largemouth.
Yeah,
it was wild. It was wild. It was like everybody was over 20 pounds. I mean, like, I think it was just crazy how fish were caught.
Is that a clear water, like a upland reservoir type lake?
Yeah, but I think it has everything. I mean, where the river comes in, from my understanding, it gets a little colored up that way.
It does. You get up near the Olympic Park, you got a little color to it where the river runs in, because that's where I fish it most of the time.
Yeah, you got a little of everything in it. Standing timber, some places, I think, but it's deeper stuff. But
all right, Kurt, number 4, what you got?
Watts Bar.
Formerly.
I haven't been there but I can honestly say I have not been there for 2 years. And apparently I'm listening to Jordan. It's not the same place as it once was. But at one time,
you top 5 there, right?
I got 3rd there the year that
on the swim bait
there when it was like snowing.
Yeah.
It was like super, super cold. There's only 3 people who caught limits, and I happened to be one of them. I mean, that was a stupid tough tournament. And honestly, that wasn't that fun fishing down there. Then it wasn't that much fun, you know. But it was one of those lakes like you could go with your buddies, and everybody would catch fish. Not everyone necessarily would catch a 7-pounder per se, but everybody would catch fish and catch numbers, and it just was a fun lake to fish. You know, it kind of another one of those lakes that falls within my wheelhouse per se.
Gotcha. Lots bar. Barry, number 3, man.
Number 3 is Caddo.
Caddo.
I thought I'd hear that one at some point.
Yeah.
The land of a million trees is what I call it, because it's I love throwing at trees in those type lakes, and it's got them. Just tree after tree after tree if you get in the right areas.
Texas or Louisiana?
I put in Texas the last time. No, I ended up in Louisiana because the Texas ramp I wanted to use was closed. They were doing a movie shoot last time I was down there. So the ramp I wanted to use on the Texas side was shut down, so I had to go. It was probably 1.5 miles for me to get to where I wanted to fish, where it shouldn't have been but 0.5 mile from the opposite area of the lake. So I had to completely change things around to be able to go where I wanted to go. But I got one area down there that, and I don't even know the name of it. I got it marked on the map. I can get to it from 3 different ramps, and it's a huge area of trees. I had very few people around me the first 2 days of a 3-day tournament I fished down there. And then on the 3rd day, it was like the whole world came in on me. So, yeah, but it was, it's kind of like I had it myself, just tree after tree after tree, fish after fish after fish. You know, we weren't all big ones, but a lot of fish.
How do you, with Santee and Caddo, is there any advice you can give for how to select the right tree?
That's according to the year, time of year, water temps, and all that stuff too. But sometimes they're laying right on the tree. Sometimes they're laying out on the knees, is out in 6-8 foot of water away from the tree. So you just have to fish it and see what you're doing with it and see what you're going to find. But I skip into the tree. I'll skip a wacky rig and just basically hit the tree and let it fall right down the tree. And then I might move it 2 times. I power fish a wacky rig. That's what most people tell me I do. I don't do a wacky rig like a lot of people do. I put it in there.
My man.
And if they don't hit it, it's going to get put back in there again. It might get put in there 6 times, but it's going to be fast every time. Piss them off. Eventually they'll hit it. And then I'll throw a shaky head and drag it out to the knees. You're going to lose some shaky heads, but but that's the way I fish them most of the time.
And Caddo's got this. I mean, even when you think it's like super shallow and you're like in the woods, there's like little troughs and stuff that cut back in between those cypress trees. Man,
Yeah.
You can catch big fish like in the weirdest places there.
Well,
I feel like they're the weirdest places. I'm not used to
come up on a duck blind, do not pass up a duck blind. Fish that whole duck blind. I've caught more fish off duck blinds than I have anything down there. For some
And there's
reason,
a bunch of them down there too.
The area, they love them.
Just people dropping snacks, maybe.
That could be. That could be it.
Wait, how about Bissano?
I've never been on it.
Just suckers go there?
Every time I've been down there, that's been a choice to be on. Now, one time we were down, we had the Red River also. I did go hit the Red River one day and practice because I'm a river guy. But I went back to Caddo. I never touched Vistano. I know coming up for BASS, we're going to have the choice of the 2.
Yeah, in October.
And I will probably be on Caddo because I was there in October before when I done so good. So.
You need to practice one day on Bistano.
Yeah, didn't
You
Guillermo
need
win
to.
there whenever the water was low?
Yeah,
or
when the
something like
water was low on Bistineau, that year that they went down there, Bistineau
Yeah.
and Caddo, it was
He had to drag
most
the
of
boat
those
out
guys
small.
absolutely wrecked him on Bistineau.
Yeah.
It became like this weird fish in a barrel scenario. But Bistineau has them. They're harder to catch whenever the water's up. I've never been on Bistineau, but you know how those kind of dock talk stuff gets out. It's harder to fish for on when the water's up, but I think it's at least worth spending a day on in the fall. It sounds like it fishes better in the fall compared to Caddo in the spring.
Yeah.
Juicy
It might get a
juice
day
for-
of practice. We'll see.
Yeah, October coming up should be a big event.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah.
I tell you, that's a hammer list this year that they have.
Yeah,
If you
for
look
sure.
at the lakes for BASS, that's a hammer list all year long.
Yes, it's like Steve chose the lakes with the biggest fish this year.
Yeah, and at the right time so far.
Yeah.
We'll see how the
Yeah.
system plays out here in a couple of weeks, but it's been the right time so far.
Mark, what's your number 4, man?
We're on number 3, ain't we?
3. All right, 3.
All right. I had Gunnersville as number 3 for me. We already said Gunnersville, so I won't go for. I mean, if you want to, I can go to honorable mention or something.
No, I'll put down Gunners. It's good to know that I'm writing them down, so we'll see how many overlapped.
Yeah, like I like Gunnersville. I think we skipped Jordan too, didn't we? Jordan.
It's actually okay because my number 3 is also Caddo. So you can go right ahead, man. You can go right ahead. We done exhausted my number 3 as well. I'm right there
My
with
bad.
Barry.
Good deal.
All
Yeah,
right.
I just think like Gunnersville, like we was talking, you could just fish any ramp can win it. So that makes a lake so good. I mean that you could just do it anywhere. So
And I like Rolando, he won it with a jerk bait, like the last event or event before last. And I would have never thought a jerk bait on cypress trees would be a deal, but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Who knows? All right, Kurt, what you got for number 3?
Seminole Lake, Seminole.
F that lake, man.
I like that. I love that lake, especially like the early spring, man. Those first like couple warm ups down there. Those those big fish will pile up together. I mean, it's really, I've never, that doesn't happen where I live. If there's a big fish, there's one, and they're never 2 in one spot, not real big ones. But down there, man, you can get into a spot of grass or some trees, and they will be stacked. Like all of them will be big, and they'll all be the same size, and they'll all be hungry. I just, there's something special about that lake that I really just enjoy.
That place has whooped me 2 times. I'm never going back.
It's kicked my teeth in. Last time I
Yeah.
went down, it totally kicked my teeth in, man. I think I caught 2 fish, and I was so mad.
It looks right, and it's a great lake because it's got the Flint, the Spring, and then Chattahoochee, and then down by the dam you can fish deeper. I mean, it's got a little bit of something for everybody.
Yeah, especially river fishing, because most of the tournaments go a fair way up those rivers, and Jake Harshman won it one year up one of the rivers.
On Shoalies, right? With Shoalies.
He had some shoalies. Yeah, I think he had mixed bag, but he did have some shoalies for sure.
He had some shoalies in there,
Yeah.
which is killer, right? I mean, if you're catching shoalies big enough that you're going to win an event on or place well on, those are giant shoalies.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of really neat features. There's grass, there's rock, there's river. I mean, there's wooded. There's a lot of standing timber there. You just got to be a little careful because it's so tempting to fish the lanes there where it's really grassy, and those boats go about 200 miles an hour in their lanes. So it's like if you're gonna fish around where they have those lanes, you need to be like very aware of what's happening with the motorboats around you.
And if you've got a pedal drive, bring some spare parts.
And hope it's not windy either.
Yeah.
I can't do anything on that lake. I can go up Spring Creek and I can find fish and I can find good fish, but I can't do anything anywhere else. I've caught a couple of decent ones on the Flint, but It's not. Spring Creek's the only place I can catch fish and be consistent. Did it that way.
That's a nice creek. Spring Creek's actually a great place to fish on that lake.
I go way up it where the water gets small, and they tend, especially in the hot water, they love to lay up in that. So,
well, there you go. Barry, number 2, what you got, man?
Number 2, Upper Mississippi, 7, 8, and 9.
Really?
Wisconsin. Yep. Might be because I won there in 2000. I don't know, but no, it's every time I've been there, the fishing's unreal and the numbers you catch in practice for most people. I hear a few people say I struggle, but the big number of people say, man, I caught 20 fish today. They may have been 13 to 16-inch fish, but they caught 20 fish. Usually you're going to win it with the high 80s. You might see somebody squeak a 90 out every once in a while on a tournament up there. But it's a fun place. If you get into the 17, 18-inch fish, it can be really fun. And it's really fun when you go up there and win it with 5 largemouth and all the guys at the ramp are cussing you because they're all locals and saying you can't do that. That's not right.
Yeah, a beautiful place too, right?
Yeah, it is. It's neat. And you can put in at 1 or 2 of the ramps and fish in 3 states within an hour. Just where everything joins there. It's kind of cool. That's one of the things I've done in practice one day. I went in and I tried to catch a bass as quick as I could in all 3 states. So I wanted to do that, just say I've done it. So
it's interesting that there's like the small towns around there are very interesting.
They are.
Yeah, it really is like a cool, just like, even if you're just to go up there just to visit.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond fishing, it's like a neat area.
Well, anywhere you're going up through there on the main road that runs up, it's just cool to go up and do the I can't remember what they call the road. It's something to do with the river road, I think is what they call it. But it's a cool drive all up through there.
Yeah.
Is Spotted Cow, does it live up to the hype?
Home of the Spotted Cow. I got some in the refrigerator over here. They're probably getting a little old. They need to be drank.
All right. What you got, Jordan? Number 2.
Number 2, I've got Seminole. And quick side note, I absolutely despise the Upper Mississippi River. It's my top tier no go. If they ever have a TOC there, I'm not going. It's I cannot stand that place for whatever reason. I don't know if I've ever turned a limit in on that place. I have struggled there and I have not had good practices there. I've spent a whole week there practicing and just never at any point felt like I caught them well enough in a whole week to put together 5 fish to be competitive in the tournament. Everybody hypes that place up. Man, you've got to go to Upper Mississippi. That's your style of fishing, swim jigging and frogging and power fishing. And man, every time I go up there, I just get more mad that I've wasted 12 hours of driving to go up there. That place is confusing to me for whatever reason. I went and fished up there with Jim Davis for a few days and fished with Jim Davis, who loves it up there and used to live up there. And the whole time we're up there, he goes, all right, now this is this and this is this. And I'm like, well, that don't make no sense. And he's like, oh, the water level's not right. Or the water level this, water level that. And I'm like, man, I can't compute that fishery in my head for whatever reason. But
the year I won it, I stayed with Jim in the house, and Jim told me, he said, you need to go to 7 and you need to fish frog. You need this. I said, no, I'm going to 9. I'm fishing a wacky rig and a shaky head. And he said, I'm telling you, you're going to mess up. And I won it. So after it's done, he looked at me. He said, I don't even know what to say to you now. Just whatever.
Yeah, I that place does not make sense to me at all. I tried last time I went up there, I put in and I did a really long A to B. Me and another guy did an A to B. And I was like, I'm just going to cover water. It's like, I ain't going back in nothing. I'm just going to cover water, fish current breaks. And I don't know if I had 5 bites all day. We left early and just drove home. It was, it just does not work out for me for whatever reason up in Mississippi. But number 2, Seminole for reasons already stated. It's very diverse fishery, fish current. I've cashed a bunch of checks there. And I swear, I think every single time I've went down there tournament day, I've used a different ramp, I think. And that speaks very highly to a fishery that doesn't have good spots. It's just a very healthy fishery throughout.
Yeah. But that, man, I'm sorry. We should have asked you at the beginning. First, congrats on making Hobie Worlds. How was Canada?
It was incredible. Obviously, you know, being a guy that loves smallmouth and loves fishing for smallmouth, I was really excited about that. First day of practice was incredible. I think I had like 93 or 94 inches in practice, and I was jonesing for that rest of that week to get there for the tournament. And then, you know how fishing is. The first day of the tournament, I went out and fished the same baits in the same spots, areas, and had a very quality 74 inches, which if anybody knows anything about St. Clair, if you have 74 inches, you ought to not show back up at the boat ramp. You ought to just go hide somewhere. But for Worlds, you know, that's kind of your, you know, it's a tournament, and you know you want to be competitive and things like that, but kind of knowing that you're out of it after day one is amazing. It's an amazing job that they do to make everyone feel like they are absolute superstars in whatever town, country they hold that in. And it's something that I wish every single person that kayak fishes at any high level could do, because if you don't have Hobie Worlds as a goal at some point in time, that's the goal of this. You know what I mean? TOCs are awesome. They treat everybody great at TOC, but to go to Worlds is an entirely different experience that I wish a lot of people could go and see. And I was very, very blessed and fortunate to go to Worlds again. And my mom and dad actually drove up and got to spend a few days with them and to have dinner with them. You know, they do fancy dinners a lot of nights, and to be able to spend that time with them meant a crazy amount to me for that week. So that's obviously the reward for having good seasons, and that's how you have to look at that. And it was an incredible week I will remember for the rest of my life. And I've got one more Hobie qualification for Worlds, and I'm incredibly excited to find out where we're going. The kind of rumor is South Korea, Australia. It was kind of the main two we were told about, and it really wasn't on anybody's list. But the mayor of Tecumseh might have let the cat out of the bag for another option when he was up on stage, and he was thanking everybody for being in Canada and hoping we all had a good time and everything. And he's like, and it sounds like y'all might be going to Italy next year. And we're all sitting there kind of looking around like, oh, well, that's interesting, you know, because that's, you know, it seems to be, you know, rumored, you know, something different every year, and it never really goes there. I know the goal is to go back to Australia soon, just because they have, you know, they've had multiple Worlds there, and everybody raves about how incredible Worlds in Australia is. But Italy would be dope too. So those are all incredible options to, you know, to fly somewhere across the world, 3 entirely different cultures to maybe experience. And I'm incredibly excited about the opportunity to do that again and represent Team USA. And it's something I don't take lightly, and I absolutely love it. So I know that was a long-winded answer to your question, but that is,
man.
those events are very, very special to me.
Fishing for your country doesn't get any better than that, man.
No, it doesn't, man. That's like a dream of mine, dude, is to make Worlds somehow.
It's incredible. I wish that we would have one in the US, and a lot of us could come just to witness how incredible it is, because you're there launching boats, and there's a crowd of people that have no idea who you are or what you're doing. They just see all this commotion going on, and you know, you go to a grocery store and, you know, talk to them, and you're wearing something Hobie related or whatever, or wearing your jersey after you get off the water, and they're like, "Oh, are you here for Worlds?" Or as this year it sounds, "Oh, you're here for Worlds, eh?" You know, whatever. So it's really cool. They make everybody feel like they are a superstar in the world. So shout out to Hobie for doing an incredible job with that.
Well, awesome. Mark, what's your number 2, man?
The Susquehanna River.
Coming up. You going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so last year was the first time I'd ever been there. Me and Jody's really close, and Jody loves it and tell me I got to go up there and stuff. And last year was my first time up there, and honestly, I didn't have a great practice, but in 1 hour I caught 95 inches of smallmouth. I mean, so that's insane. So, and then the next day I go back and catch like 91 3/4, and that's insane, dude. I mean, I'm not used to that. So, I mean, the numbers of fish in there, it's just perfect habitat for smallmouth. And what's crazy is, like, I had guys texting me. They said, "What happened on day 2?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "Well, you didn't do as good." I'm like, "I caught 91 3/4 inches. I mean, I was pulling 17-inch fish. What the heck? I mean, I had a heck of a day. I don't know what you're talking about. You're cooling 17-inch fish is that's nuts.
That's
For
the
smallmouth.
river.
Yeah,
Calling 17-inch fish in a river. Yeah.
Yep.
It's badass.
Yeah. It was that was definitely going to come up on the list today from everything I've heard. I've never been there either.
It's worth a trip.
It's a got to go to.
Yeah, I mean, just the numbers. Like, so I didn't have a good practice, but you can go catch 75, 80 inches doing whatever you want to do. I mean, you're going to catch fish. I mean, if you don't catch a limit there, I'd quit fishing.
We took
I mean, not to be mean or nothing, but like y'all were talking a while ago, Caddo, and just like Jordan was talking how he hates the Upper Mississippi. I like the Upper Mississippi, but last year I didn't do so good, so I kind of took it off the list. But Caddo, man, I hate Caddo. But I've only been there once, and in a week I caught 8 bass in a week. And the guy that, like, I drove around, like, he roomed with me, he rode down there with me and stuff. He finished 8 in the Nationals, and I'm like, "Where are we going tomorrow?" And he's like, "Well, I don't care. Wherever you want to go." And dude, I'm like, "I ain't catching nothing. I got to take you around." But I just fished too fast, I reckon, at the time. But I guess I'm going to go back this fall just for the heck of it.
We used to take a July 4th weekend trip to Susquehanna every year. We didn't this year, but the last 2, maybe 3 years, me and Eric would go up there. Last year, me and Ewing and a couple of his buddies from Carson Newman went up there and stayed in one of those little cabins and just tried to do it as cheap as possible just for a long weekend. And we caught so many fish last year that we went to Bass Pro Shop and picked baits out for each other to throw. Like, we were throwing just random stupid baits that we were picking out as a joke. And I'm pretty sure I caught a fish on a saltwater squid soft bait. Like, just because there was, like, we were catching so many fish. It was every single, like, 2 or 3 days in a row we went out and just caught 90 inches, like all of us. And it was just unbelievable. I mean, we could just go fish whatever we wanted and catch giants everywhere. And that place is otherworldly.
Kurt, how about you, man?
Number 2 would be Lake Hartwell. I really like that lake. I find it to be like, it's not necessarily the lake where you're going to go catch the biggest bag, but man, the spotted bass, because it's a herring lake, man, they just everything's a hammer. Man, there are no soft. I don't feel like there's any soft bites there. They just come out of nowhere and they just hit your bait and they go like the opposite direction. I just really enjoy it. Again, it's another spotted bass lake. Even though the spots are different down there, they're like long, skinny, missile-looking things.
Torpedoes.
Torpedoes, man. And if you can get on a topwater bite on that lake, on those big long points, man, you can have like the craziest topwater situations happen on those crazy points out there. It's a super fun lake to fish.
That's 45 minutes from my house, and we call it Hurtwell.
Hurtwell. it can be stingy at times. I ain't gonna lie. It's I think I have a love-hate relationship with every lake I've mentioned.
I can go down there and just hammer them one day and go back the next week, and it's like it's a desert. Yeah, it's weird.
You know, when I say they hammer them, So one time I went down there and they were doing it. They were hammering in practice, no problem. And then come tournament day, the only way I could get them to bite was to throw my swim bait, and it had to be a swim bait for whatever reason. They weren't hitting worms or anything like that, and let it sit.
Yeah.
I'd move it and then let it sit, and they would pick it up when it was sitting, and I'd have to let it sit for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It was so painful because during practice, you're whipping them out there, you're burning them back as fast as you can spin them, and they're smashing it. And then like a light bulb, it was like they knew Saturday came, and they said no.
No fish for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they would eat, but and I had a decent tournament, but you had to let it sit. It just like it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun at all. It was just slow and painful from But that's mine. Lake Hartwell, number 2.
All right, number 1, Barry. What you got? Susquehanna. Yeah.
Susquehanna.
Yeah, you hadn't said a river yet, but you said you had a river on your list, so I was figuring that.
Well, Upper Mississippi counts as a river
yeah.
too, but that's Susquehanna, definitely. I love the place. I've never done great, but caught a lot of fish up there.
For kayak fishing, that has to be like our, maybe our 1 or 2 top lakes that, if Bassmaster has like, I don't know, Gunnersville and like Lake Fork, that's the 2 Bassmaster most historic places for kayak fishing. Susquehanna has to probably be on top of that list.
That's just, Mark nailed it a while ago talking about how it was. I didn't have 90 inches. I had in the 80s both my days, but yeah, you just get out there and throw and let things do its thing with the current, and they're going to tear it up. That's just the way they are.
And it's a mile wide in places, even more.
Yeah.
It's just visually speaking, when you're on it, it's you look across it, and I'm not used to seeing a mile and a half, and you're just going directly at 90 degrees across the current. It's
right.
Just like it's a different, and it's old. It's really, really old.
It's old. Well, the New River, I think, is the oldest river in the nation, and the Susky's number 2, I think, on age for the rivers, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's an old body of water. It's a really cool place. Just rock everywhere. Everywhere you look is rock. And you can, like Liverpool, if you know anything about the area, you got a place called Liverpool there, and it's like several drop-off pools that go down. And I actually climbed uphill in the boat last year. There was 2 guys in a Hobie in Hobies up top, watch me come up with my RVR with a torpedo on the back of it. And they said, "Dude, where'd you get the 4-wheel drive boat?" So I actually went uphill through those pools without having to get out of the boat, and it took me up through there. So
without getting out?
Yeah,
I know where you're talking about.
I banged the prop up a little bit, but I got all the way to the top pool. And
that took some balls, man.
That's now my spare river prop. I've bought 2 new props since then, but that's my spare river prop now. But it got dinged up, but I climbed that sucker without getting out of the boat. And dude, I'm 280, so it carried me up. That's bona fide. That's all I'll say.
Okay. Jordan, what you got for your number 1?
No surprise. I'm a Smalley guy. I'm a river guy. It's Susquehanna. I will do an honorable mention while we're at it, just to mix it up a little bit. Also, another fantastic moving water fishery that doesn't get talked about enough. Wolf and Fox River on my honorable mention brown fish. Those fish ate a bladed jig. It didn't matter what bladed jig. It was the best bladed jig bite I've ever been on in my life. They absolutely knocked slack in the line when they would eat that thing for 2 days. It is an unbelievable fishery that had just some of the most aggressive fish I've ever been around. So, Susky number 1, no surprise, but we'll throw an honorable mention Wolf and Fox River in there.
All right, Mark, how about you?
It's tough. I didn't write beside my list here. I wrote down like 8 or 9 places that I really didn't number. But anyhow, they're all good. No, Lord, no. I live 10 minutes from New River, but it ain't close to the Susquehanna. I'm going to have to, man, I hate to leave it one off, but I'm going to have to go with Lake Fork. I've only been to Lake Fork once, never practiced on it. It was 16 friggin' degrees the first
The
day of the
ice
tournament.
tournament. Yeah, that
Yeah, I remember
Garrett
Jordan
Morgan.
putting in on the south side or whatever in the ice. I don't know how he done that. I'd have turned around if I'd have seen the ice, but
I'm more stubborn than I am smart, Mark.
I was thinking the sunny side. I went to the north side just because it had more sun. But yeah, I hadn't practiced or anything. And the second day, I put up 90 some inches or something.
In
And I figured out something now. Of course, the lake's up now more than it was. It was low at the time, but I figured out something. I really want to go back.
Yeah, it'd definitely be on a list for too long.
Yeah, hopefully next year.
It's a good possibility from what little birds say every now and then.
Oh, really? Uh-oh. Barry's got some information.
Yeah, hopefully next year.
Yeah. I'm going to give it number one just because I wish it would come on a list. I fished there for KFL. I fished there in college for a Bassmaster event. Okeechobee. Like it never shows up on a list. It's massive. Like massive. You can fish. It's one of those places where you can do, I mean, it's Florida, so it's going to be Florida fishing, but you can do more of what you want all over. I mean, you got the river, which Tyler Rivette won there last year in a Bassmaster event. I mean, it's just, and it's so, my favorite part about it is it's like whenever you get on the lake, except for one area that has a marina down on the south end, there's no houses. And whenever you get on it, it's a different world. Like there's no houses. It's levee all the way around it. It's a big bowl. And it's just, if you find them, you can absolutely have a day of a lifetime down there. It's crazy how they stack up. But yeah, Okeechobee, I sure wish it had come on somebody's schedule because you'd at least have one person fishing it. I'd be there for sure.
Might be 5 people show up.
Yeah, that's fine.
The only negative thing I got at Okeechobee is like it fishes so small. The areas, like you said, there's stacked in that area, but the habitat, like the Susquehanna, man, it's one of the places you can win anywhere, and there's just habitat everywhere. And like Guntersville's the same way. And Okeechobee right now, there ain't no grass and all this stuff, and the water levels, and what I hear.
It changes every year or two, though. Like you can, that would be the good part because people that have been there before, they could be somewhere totally different the next year because it's ever changing.
I don't know if you watched the Bass Opens this year, they were like 80 some people fishing in a couple 100-yard section.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it's great fishing, I guess, but I don't know if I want to sword fight with everybody.
I think that's kind of the thing. Whoa, sword fight! Don't. but like every year it changes, so it would be hard to find it in a different place every year.
Wouldn't it be harder in a kayak to find too?
Yeah, but I think that would be the fun part,
Don't
and
sound fun.
you can fish in the rim. You can fish in the rim canal, so that if it blows out on the main lake, everybody can fish on the outside of the lake in the rim canals, which can be cool too. All right, I'll quit. Kurt, how about you?
Number one would be Lake Norman. That would be my number one lake, man. It's one of those, like we were kind of talking before. It just matches what I like to fish, how I like to fish, really well. And that's just like one of those lakes that I've got like 4 spots that I like to fish for tournaments, but everywhere I've gone there, I catch fish. I don't always catch the biggest fish, but I mean, it's a fun lake to fish, man. It really is. You got the power plant that pushes out some warm water. So some of the early tournaments, that part around that power plant, they seem to like kind of, well, obviously it's warmer water. They're spawning down there first. And for me, it seems to be very predictable. and I love the big spots.
I hope it's good to me this weekend. We'll see.
I got my fingers crossed for you, man.
Kurt, I
fished
think you chose 4 of my 5 most hated fisheries.
uh,
At least 3 of them.
am I like the
Congratulations,
anti-Jordan?
You might be. I don't know. If you would have said Chickamauga, then you would be anti me.
No, man, chick kicks me in the teeth too. Just like, oh, it kicks me in the teeth.
Every time I went to Chick, I can catch them all week long until tournament day when they go to shutting down generators and not flowing water, and they kill me.
It's a different fishery Monday through Thursday than Friday through Sunday for sure.
Yeah.
And it really does seem like, what is it like on the weekends? They don't need electricity. They like literally. It's crazy how it's almost every weekend they really.
That killed me at Pickwick a few years ago. It was the best bite I've ever been on, and then they didn't run no generator. I was just stuck. It struggled, and I only caught 3 fish the first day, and then the second day I had the best day. But
Pickwick's an honorable mention in my list, man. That's a killer
Yeah, I
lake
love
too.
Pickwick.
That's a killer lake. I was debating replacing one of them with Pickwick.
It used like in the early like 2000s, like even like I fished there a lot whenever I was in college from 2012 to 15, and it was so much better back then. Like, but that was whenever people just had side scan. Like you could go out. That's whenever you could still go out and find the mega schools. It's it's so hard to do that now.
Yeah. Well, the NPFL, I don't know if y'all kept up. I didn't look today, but they're fishing like an evening tournament. Have you noticed that? They start at 10 in the day and they stop at dark or something.
Yeah, I'm probably going to fish the Tennessee Bass Nation there next weekend, and I was watching the NPFL and today, and what Kyle Welcher said that the fish there are so smart they have doctorates because they get so much pressure.
They do, man. At one of the tournaments I went down there, I fish a little different than people, so I personally wasn't too crowded, but man, it looked like there was 2 to 3 people on every single spot. Man, it was just, and anything that was evident like that looks fishy. They had 2 or 3 people on, and I was like,
Pickwick fish is really, really small when you start getting any amount of anglers there, whether it's boats or kayaks, especially. It fishes really small.
Yeah,
that's people nowadays will pull in on you too because they think everything's community hole, and man, it can get tough out there.
But I've done well in several different places in Pickwick. I mean, I kind of like Pickwick. But one lake,
I love Pickwick, man. I love
one lake on my list that nobody's mentioned, and I got to mention it. I can't believe somebody ain't mentioned this. Is St. Clair, where Jordan just fished the Hobie Worlds. How did nobody mention St. Clair?
Never been on it myself. So.
I'll tell you exactly why I didn't mention it, because Detroit, you have to stay in freaking Detroit. That's why I don't mention that place, because the fishing's great, but as soon as you get on land, it's like, get ready, man. Get ready. You're going to get mugged. You're going to get carjacked.
It doesn't matter if you're on the Canadian side either, because I was on the Canadian side all week, and my truck got broken into 30 feet from the hotel door, even on the Canadian side.
So it's not any better in Canada either. I
mean, it might be worse, honestly.
No way, it's worse. I don't know how it could be worse.
The locals told us that, like, we were hanging out one night, and there were some locals that were like, "Y'all, you guys need to come hang out with me. We got a birthday party Friday. We're all going to Detroit to go for a birthday party." The locals don't even hang out in Windsor. I tried to file a police report for 4 days up there and couldn't even file a police report up there because you had to pay for it over the phone, and I couldn't get the internet to work the whole time I was up there properly, and couldn't even file a police report online.
You had to pay for a police report?
If you file a police report over the phone, you have to pay for it.
Canada, dude. Remember, it's Canada, not the U.S., man.
Damn, Canada.
But the fishing up there, like the opens today, I don't know if y'all kept up with it, the weigh-in and stuff, but Ish weighed in, I know at least 4 largemouth, but it was almost like 24 pounds of largemouth.
Now, for a tournament, I pre-fished up there one time, and literally in 6 casts, I had over 100 inches of largemouth. Pre-fishing. I went back for the tournament. Of course, there wasn't a single fish back there.
So,
It
so
fished really
And it was
tough.
all those were all largemouth within 6 casts. It was literally, 1 point, 1 stick up, another point, another stick up on the.
well, it's tough on y'all, Jordan, where you're 50 of you launching from the same spot,
Yeah.
and then you have no motors. So that's
Very, very tough for us. We were in a good area, based on what I know about the lake and being up there before. And there was a lot of people that thought it was going to take, 95 to 97 a day to win. And I think the winner had 80s, 89, 88, 89, and 93. So, he barely averaged 90 inches, not taking anything away from him. He won the tournament, obviously, but it did not fish great as a fishery when we were there.
but
That's
y'all
pretty
fish.
good, man. Come on, that's pretty good.
Historically for St. Clair, that's
Not for St. Clair, but just
but yeah,
overall.
you give me 89, 88, 89, and 93 for 99% of the smallmouth fisheries, and I'm ecstatic. You know what I mean? I'd take that at Susquehanna when we go there the next in a few days. I'd be happy with that. But based on expectations of the fishery versus what actually came about, it was I had, I think, 8 bites all day on the first day of the tournament and landed 5 fish. So that's kind of non-typical for it. And they had like a BFL or something up there, and the weather was really kind of weird the whole time we were up there. And they had a lot of factors kind of contributing to that. But as far as St. Clair goes, it was a hair lackluster.
Yeah, weather plays a big
Yeah.
role on St. Clair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rode up with Jody, and then I had my stock native rudder. The cord broke on it on tournament day. I'm 30 minutes into the run. I think I passed you, Kurt. I think I passed you going back the other way, and I told you I broke my rudder.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's been several years ago. And anyway, so I just had to fish the canals and crap. Where me and Jody beat them up one day. It was bad weather. We just went in there and killed the largemouth. Didn't think we was going to fish, and I had to go in there and fish the whole tournament, but I still finished like 20 something. And I had high 80s. And that's insane fishing, beat up water already.
And people don't realize that the largemouth bite can be really stellar on St. Clair. It takes a lot of hitting things right and timing to really get enough of the big ones, but there's some spots up there, man. You'll run into those bigger largemouth.
I think right at 28 pounds leading today, 27, 12. So 27 and 3/4 pounds.
Crazy.
Yeah. That's insane.
I got one that I didn't put on my list that I'm surprised didn't get called out, and that's Toledo Bend.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
It's cool fishery. It's not my top 5, but it's a cool fishery.
No.
And you have trees there too in places, and not, you got offshore. You got a little bit of everything there.
It's big too. It's great big.
Yeah.
It's big. It gets nasty at times, but it's it's a fun place.
And another lake that was on my honorable mention is Murray. Nobody mentioned Murray.
Well, that's another one that I'm spoiled with that I don't mention because it's in state. But yeah, it's.
I've done well at Murray, but
Secret Lake.
Murray's an hour and 20 minutes from the house, so it's no big deal for me to go to Murray. But it's never good to me on a tournament weekend. We'll put it that way. Unless I've done well there on some local tournaments, but anytime we have a national, it just never works out for me. I like to fish the river section a lot. It's crowded as all get out anytime we're up there. If I fish Buffalo Creek area, which is another area I like for the lake, it's always crowded. It was 20-something people last time I put in at Buffalo Creek. So, it's always a crowd when there's a national there, everywhere I like to fish.
Well, we had 2 Gunnersville, 2 Caddo, 2 Seminoles, but I guess we have to crown the winner as Susquehanna since it had 3 top 5 votes.
Yep.
Susquehanna.
There you go.
it's coming up too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If you haven't signed up, get signed
coming up again, the northern part for the Adventure Kayak Series. They're going to the north part of it, right?
Way north, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot skinnier water up there, and it's not nowhere up that section is really wide like we talked about a while ago.
Oh, okay.
I've never seen the northern section.
You get up above, I can't think of the name of the town, but where the train trestle comes across, where Mark, where I seen you at the ramp in practice last year. That little section there, and the train trestle was right above us.
Yeah.
You get there, and then you go on up to that next town. There's a
That's where
inflatable.
we actually stayed at in the next town up, I think.
Yeah, there's an inflatable dam up there. They can adjust what the water flow
in
is.
Sunbury.
But anything above that little lake, Sunbury, right above Sunbury, it starts getting skinnier up there, and where it splits, it's skinny on your left leg looking upriver, be right leg going river right. But that's skinny water all up through there. So.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all being on, sharing your favorite lakes with us. Want to give you a chance to shout out anybody that makes fishing easier for you. Barry, we'll start with you, man.
Well, I wrote mine down so I wouldn't forget nobody and tick them off. You know how that goes. Bonafide. I fish out Bonafide. Bonafide's good for me. They're good to me. I used to work for them before they merged and all that stuff happened. But Bonafide, Bass Pro, Dakota Lithium, ALX rods, 5 bass tackle, Yak Attack, Power Pole, Yak Power, and Native Angler apparel. That's the ones that help me do what I do.
Native Angler. I haven't seen that. I'll have to check it out.
Trevor Davis out of Florida started this small company. He works for another company full time, and he does this on the side. And but he sells the apparel. If you ever see the autism shirts I wear, I got a couple of autism jerseys. They come through him. But he's up and growing. He's got some really cool stuff. He's usually not but about 10 items on his website, but he rotates around and puts new stuff on, and something won't be there for a while, then he'll come back to it, when people get to asking about it again. But somebody running something out of their house and being small like that, he sells a lot of stuff. It's just he can't keep a huge inventory. It's hard for a man to do that.
And not go broke. A lot of money.
Yeah. So but it's good stuff. I enjoy it. That's all my practice jerseys is what I wear at his now. I wear my regular jerseys that I have for my sponsors and stuff when I have to, but usually I'm in one of my practice jerseys and I'm actually fishing.
Cool. Jordan, how about you?
The Strike King, lose. There's a whole bunch of people that have helped me over the last few years. Hobie, of course, has always been very good to me. Miller Tech lithium batteries, Hobie sunglasses. My mom and my dad for always being supportive. Like I said, they got to come to Worlds, and that meant a whole lot to me. My girlfriend Michaela for keeping me level headed. She's over here staring at me with a funny face because I just mentioned her. She's been listening in. She loves the podcast. So Sniper Marine, those guys are local to me, and
very cool stuff.
It's no secret. I'm not a live scope guy, but when I do, they make things a whole lot easier, and I'm grateful to call those guys my friends, and I think that's covering anything. Owner Hooks, those guys, Mike McLaurin and all those guys at Owner Hooks are fantastic to me too. But
tell Michaela thank you for letting us borrow you for a little bit.
Dan says thank you for letting us borrow me for a little bit, Michaela.
All right, Mark, how about you, man?
I like fishing online, Dakota lithium batteries, and native watercraft, and also Folks custom cranks and stuff.
Folks, good stuff there.
Yeah, he does all kinds of stuff. He'll do whatever you send him something, he'll paint it for you.
Cool. Well, we appreciate y'all being on. Thank you as always. Awesome lakes. I definitely need to go to a lot more of them myself, but good luck the rest of the season and see y'all out on the water. Thanks for listening,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks for having us on.